going on, everybody? Hello again, and welcome back to another episode of The Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch. Make some noise and clap it up. Get excited wherever you are. We have so much to cover in the world of sports today, as we have, again, the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship is happening this Saturday. We are finally in the midst of a week that is going to define who is the baddest man on the planet, as well as other fights that happened over the last weekend, and like with Lomachenko defeating Kambosos to become a champion again, and the NBA playoffs. There's so much going on, so much in store that we have to discuss, so many storylines, always so exciting. Can't you just feel the energy? I know I can, and I know you can too, because this is what we are about on this channel, being entertaining, being fun, and breaking down everything that happens in the sports community. And thank you so much for joining this community. Everybody who subscribed recently and all that stuff, it has been a phenomenal growth period, and it's all thanks to you for supporting the channel. So again, thank you so much for all of your support. And please, before we even get started, leave a like on the video, comment your thoughts and opinions, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire together. We're almost at 200 subscribers just after we hit the 1,000 mark, or excuse me, almost at the 1,200 subscriber mark after just hitting the 1,000 mark. So hey, we are moving quickly, moving rapidly, and it's all thanks to you all sharing the channel. So keep on doing that and keep on joining, and we'll keep the fun rolling right here on the show. But all that niceties aside, we got stuff to cover. First things first, we got to cover boxing. And with covering boxing, we have to step into the ring. That's right. Ring the bell. Let's get it started. Round one of this show going on underway. Before we talk about the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship happening this Saturday, first we had to backtrack into what happened this past weekend with Lomachenko versus Kambosos for the IBF lightweight title, which Loma is now a champion again. Oh my gosh, it happened. Loma is back at the top of the mountain, is firmly in the midst of other champions as he regains a title at light heavyweight after losing to Gervonta, what many felt was a robbery. Now ascends back to the throne, and one of the best boxers in the world now has gold around his waist, and it was a master class if I've ever seen it. This was an outright display of masterful artistry on the side of Lomachenko, because he outright outboxed Kambosos. Now again, everybody thought that Kambosos was going to lose. That's understandable. Absolutely. But again, it was the athletic ability that would, at minimum, look to give Lomachenko at least some level of trouble, because he does have, in terms of Kambosos, legitimately good hand speed, good reaction time, and again, he doesn't have a lot of power. Only got about, 10 knockouts to his name. But he did put down somebody like Teofimo Lopez, so it's not like he doesn't have no pop at all. There was still some level of testing, without, even though it was minute, some level of testing that was going to be given to Lomachenko by Kambosos. But Lomachenko showed, hey, he's the matrix for the reason. And absolutely boxed circles around him, used his jab, got his timing by the time the second round came, and just was able to pick his shots and eventually make Kambosos quick. Again, no Lomachenko is back. The man who makes people stop on their stool or makes their corner throw in the towel, like we saw with George Kambosos' dad when he threw in the towel to protect his son, protect his fighter, protect his prized pupil, made him stop, made him quick, and then it ended in KO. And it was easy work. Easy work in a fight that everybody thought was going to go this same way. Maybe not by knockout, but going in the way of Kambosos really doesn't have an answer. And now we see that the lightweight division is now stacked with legitimate champions, legitimate contenders at every single position outside of the WBO title. Every single heavy hitter has a belt in the division. Tank, Shakur, and Vasilly Lomachenko. And if anybody wants to go through the road of Undisputed, now it has to be they have to go through each other. This is exactly what we've been waiting on in this division, specifically with somebody like a Tank Davis. Again, not trying to make this a Tank segment, but this is a point to harp on. We have been telling Tank, I've been telling Tank, if you want to prove that you are indeed the best in the world and prove all of your fans right, everybody who loves you as a fighter, I love you as a fighter, but you have not done anything since you won the belt at, I believe, junior lightweight, when you knocked out Leo Santa Cruz. Since then, you haven't proved anything of note. Yes, you knocked out Ryan Garcia. Commendable win, especially after what we saw Ryan Garcia do to Gervonta. But right now, we need to make sure that that win wasn't tainted by Ryan Garcia with the PEDs, which is coming out on May 22nd when the final envelope is reviewed as to what VADA found in terms of the B sample that Ryan Garcia requested. But all that to be said, we don't let that win or that performance by Ryan Garcia distract you from what we saw on the night of that fight and what we were saying on the night of that fight, which was Ryan Garcia does not belong on that level. And I routinely said Tank had not fought anybody on his level ever since he's moved up, and we've been waiting on it. Now, with Vasilly, with Shakur, now with titles in line, saying he wants to go and hunt everybody down, again, to use some stronger language, but you get what I'm saying. This brother is trying to hunt everybody down. That's what he says. This is an opportunity to prove it. This is a prime opportunity to prove that point and show that he himself, Tank Davis, is indeed one of the baddest people walking the planet Earth. Is indeed living up to the hype that we see his talent as, which is indeed world class. His resume can catch up to it. Now, this is your opportunity. And when you face off against Loma, the question becomes, what is Loma going to be able to bring? And it's a legitimate question, again, going back to Lomachenko, because this whole thing is about what will Lomachenko be able to do against the other two champions. Can he beat somebody like Shakur, and can he beat somebody like a Tank? The answer is yes. It's just going to be very difficult depending on what his age has done to his body. Beat Kambosos. Understandable. Looked great against Kambosos. Understandable. We get, though, that Kambosos was of a very much lower class than any of the other champions at the division. We understand that completely. The context behind that fight, Loma did what Loma does, but the competition was nowhere near what we're going to see with Shakur and Tank. Lomachenko's also, 35, 36 years old, getting up there in age. This isn't the 31, 32-year-old absolute savant whose athleticism hadn't dipped at all. Not saying it has dipped to a major degree right now, but we also understand that Father Time doesn't wait on anybody. It's incredibly difficult to keep that specifically with Lomachenko in his style of being, again, a matrix fighter, a cerebral, footwork-driven fighter. Technique is phenomenal. Part of the reason why he's able to do it is because his physical capabilities are able to keep up with what his mind is trying to do and what his eyes see. Now, if that wavers in any way, shape, or form, we could have some real trouble. We could have some real trouble. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm saying it's a possibility that needs to be looked out for. On top of the fact that what he's going up against now is a step above just about anything he's faced up until this point, though he's been proven. You've always known that his talent has been on the top, like the top. But somebody who's also at that top level, even more than somebody like a Devin Haney at that point in time, is Tank Davis. And on par with what we were seeing with Devin Haney at that point in time, Shakur Stevenson. Athletic, tall, strong. One of them, Turtle Tank, has a lot of pop, and he can catch you, and if he does catch you, he can hurt you. And has the cerebral mind, at least in the same vicinity, as somebody like a Lomachenko. Absolutely. Shakur, again, another thinking fighter who may not be as power-driven, but his defense and his distance management is something that can make any fight either boring and or just incredibly a landslide, which both of those things go his favor. If it's boring, it works for him because he's not getting touched. He's making you not be able to do anything. He's just simply pot-shotting and scoring with that long jab of his and making it so that you are obsolete. And if it's a landslide, well, he's able to dominate, he's able to tee off, and not only does he have the distance management, but if he gets you in that realm of I can do whatever I want, then he can get offensive and just do whatever he wants in the ring with you. He can take chances. He can dip in and out the pocket. He could stay in the pocket if he wants to, if he's got you at that level, and then play with you. Either way, it works for him. That's what Lomachenko is going up against. And he has the opportunity to beat both. He can beat both. It's not impossible. We haven't seen somebody think on the level of a Tank Davis. Lomachenko's got that IQ. At that level, if not higher. We know this. We understand this. I don't care if you are a Tank hater or lover, a fanboy or a detractor. Again, me, I'm even keel. But the thing is, when it comes to Tank, he hasn't faced somebody that's mentally on the same level as him. He hasn't. He just hasn't. Closest thing was Leo Santa Cruz. Hall of Famer, phenomenal fighter, great action fighter, was smart in his aggression. Understandable. Beat him. Usyk Cruz, you could argue, only because he went the distance, but again, that was more so because of injury than the mental game that Usyk Cruz brings to the table. Not saying that he isn't smart. No, he is. He's just smart in one facet, coming forward and being aggressive. Tank is smart in multiple different avenues. Counterpuncher, somebody who can be an aggressor, somebody who can control the ring as a general. He's smart in multiple different facets. Usyk Cruz is smart, but in one specific vein. It's nowhere near a disrespectful take on him. It's just how he fights. Tank is a more diverse, skilled fighter with a more diverse, skilled understanding of the game. That's just the fact of life. Somebody like Lomachenko is on that same level of IQ and understanding of ring generalship, understanding of control, understanding of what it takes to make sure that a fight goes in his favor. Even in every loss that we've seen Lomachenko be in, it's never been that he's been outclassed severely. It's always been that once he adapted, if he was down on the cards, boom, all of a sudden it's a one-round fight, and he's got you. What beat him, honestly, in the end, if you want to call both losses, the 1-2 was definitely lost. The 1-2, Devin Haney, I think he was robbed of. Although it was a good fight, he should have gotten a win for. It's the fact that Lomachenko, just in the last round, is out-aggressioned by the other opponent. But outside of that, he'll lose the first 5 if it's a legitimately good fight. He'll lose the first 5 in both instances of the losses, and then win the last 5 or last 6. And then it comes down to round 12. And at that point, he's just gotten out-aggressioned by the opponent. That's what it's been every time he's lost. But he's never been just out-thunk. If anything, he's figured out his opponent. And he adapted to what their adaptations were to him in the first rounds. And then boom, now they have no answer except for go for broke in the last round, because now it's whoever lands the most in this round wins the fight. That's it. So we know it's hard to outthink this brother. Tank ain't been tested mentally like that. He hasn't. From somebody who can think the game, he ain't been tested like that. I'm not saying he can't beat him. I'm saying Lomachenko has a shot to beat him. And for Shakur, same thing as well. Somebody who's that offensively diverse and defensively adept in terms of Lomachenko. Going up against somebody in Shakur who is great defensively and offensively has some real talent. However, going up against somebody that thinks on that level, most likely he's bringing things to the table that you have yet to see in your tenure as a boxer in terms of the way that he inputs his offense into a fight, the way that he adapts specifically, the way that he can turn your defensive mistakes into offensive advantages, the way he is able to essentially keep a tether on you. And if he wants to keep a distance, he will keep that distance, a master of distance control in his own right, even as a shorter fighter, like we know Shakur is. Oh, he's got the ways that he can defeat these fighters. It's just a matter of, and the biggest thing that I have, will the athleticism carry over? That's the thing. Athleticism and chin, that's the biggest thing. Chin, I'm not as worried about due to the fact that, yes, he's going up against Tank. Understand him. Shakur, I'm not really worried about the power. Tank, I'm worried about the power. But he went up against Teofimo Lopez, who was and still is an incredibly destructive puncher. And nearly beat him. Survived in the ring with him. This isn't something that he hasn't faced. It's not like he hasn't faced power before. Elite level power before. He has. He definitely has. Now he's going up against a fighter with power and more experience. And one of the best arsenals in boxing as a whole. It's not that Lomachenko can't win. No, he can't. But it's going to be a real test of how far can that matrix really go. How much can that cerebral game go up against these young lions who athletically are hitting their peak while you are hitting your decline? And if you falter in any way, shape, or form, it could be that we see them get the upper hand. As great of a boxer as he is, and we've seen him get beat. We've seen him get beat for rounds on end before having to turn it up. If that same thing happens now, specifically if he starts out slow, like we know Lomachenko loves to do, not even loves to do, just falls into from time to time, which was a great thing that we didn't see him fall into in the Kambosos fight, with him starting faster and keeping up that pace the entirety of the fight, rather than eking into the fight, getting the oil revved up before then really pressing on the gas. This fight with Kambosos started out fast from the jump and kept it going. Going up against Tank in Loma, or it's going up against Tank in Shakur, that may be what has to happen again. It can't be a waiting game. Because if it goes to a point where now you're getting dominated, or not even dominated, just beat round by round before you then turn it on, it could pose a real problem and have you potentially seeing the cameras. Because now, especially going up against somebody like a Tank Davis, if you do what you did against Devin Haney, if you do what you did against Teofimo Lopez, it could potentially see that you take too many risks in working your way on the inside. As definitively great as you are, and you are great if you're Lomachenko, one of the most technically gifted boxers that we've seen. Again, one of the best of this generation from understanding the sport. Arguably the greatest amateur that we've seen in history. That talent isn't just hearsay. No, it is real. It is real. Do not underestimate Lomachenko just because he's not a Tank Davis, just because he's not a Terrence Crawford, just because he's not a Naoya Inoue. He is indeed one of the best that this generation has to offer in boxing. That's no doubt in my mind. Going up against these types of real dangerous fighters, specifically Tank Davis, comes down to once you do, if you fall into that trap, of getting outboxed and having to take longer to adapt and overcome, to put your foot on the gas pedal, that could lead to you getting knocked out, rather than cementing control from the jump, and then being able to fight a little safer. It's just my opinion, but it's a point of legitimate contention when it comes to somebody like a Lomachenko going up against Tank and Shakur Stevenson. There is an opportunity for him to legitimately beat them both. He is talented enough to do it. The question is, when his talent goes up against their talent, will it be their youth that beats his age and experience? Because if he declines even slightly, just enough, that he can't fully execute the technical ability that we know he has the ability to actively do, it could be a bad night on both fronts, versus Shakur and versus Tank. We can see Loma lose to them both. But if not, the athleticism doesn't play a factor, if it's still at the level that we saw at Kambosos, we could see a surprising upset. From when everybody thinks that Tank's going to knock out Lomachenko, Loma actually is able to outbox him. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying there is an ability for that to happen. Shakur the exact same way. We could see that Shakur gets put in a matrix of his own, now that he can't even find a way out of it. We already know he doesn't like getting hit like we saw against De Los Santos. And now you get somebody who can cut off the ring offensively and be great defensively with his own distance management and ability to see and react to punches. Now, if we see Shakur get tagged continuously, not even with heavy shots, but just getting touched, we could see this man put on a worse performance than he did against De Los Santos, but it leads to him actually being in more trouble because of the fact that now you can't just outbox and just use your fast feet to get away. Because like a tether, he's going to be right there with you, like a rope. For my wrestling fans, Dusty Rhodes in a bull rope match, literally tied to the hand. Both opponents, you can't get away. Bull strap match, excuse me. That's what it was. Dusty Rhodes in the bull strap match. Tied a bull strap over on each other's wrist. You can't get away. You can't get away. You are literally tied to me. That's what Lomachenko does to opponents, especially when he wants to go on the offensive. That's what we could see him do to Shakur Stevenson. And we could see him, in terms of Lomachenko, gain the upper hand and turn Shakur Stevenson into potentially, oh my gosh, did we overrate him? That's what we could be talking about. I'm not saying that's what we want. I'm saying these are all the avenues that could go about if we see Lomachenko fight against Shakur and Tank Davis. And I'm highlighting this because it's not out of question that we could see Lomachenko actively get the upper hand. You know what? It's not. Again, we'll break down the fight further, but there is hope for him to still be undisputed. Though it looks dire, it's not impossible. Not impossible in the slightest that we could see Lomachenko actually be able to get an upset win on both Shakur and Tank Davis. To everybody's shocked. Don't underestimate this old lion. Because right now, how he thinks, and how he fights can give anybody in the world trouble. And it's going to be a testament to see if he does in fact accomplish this. It's a testament to how great he actively is. Only adding on to the resume that is the Matrix himself, Vasilly Lomachenko. But again, we'll have to wait and see as if and when those fights get announced. We will break down the fights. Don't question that at all. It's going to happen. Absolutely, it's going to happen. But as we move on in the show, we still talk about the biggest fight that's coming on this weekend. The undisputed heavyweight championship between Usyk and Fury. For literally all the marbles, we have been waiting upwards of 25 years for this fight to actually happen. And finally, we're getting it right in the palm of our hand. Delayed because of a cut. Now, we're back onto it. This is one of the biggest fights of not just the year, but of arguably the era of boxing in this generation. This is going to be one of the biggest of this generation. I guarantee you right now. I promise you. This is an era-defining fight. This is bigger than Joshua versus Usyk. Bigger than Usyk versus, not Usyk. This is bigger than Fury versus Klitschko. This is bigger than Joshua versus AJ. Not Joshua versus AJ. Joshua versus Klitschko. The passing of the guard fight. This is the fight that will give us definitively who is indeed the baddest man on the planet. Who is the man to rule them all? That's what this is. The title of heavyweight undisputed champion is the title of the baddest man on the planet. Unequivocally. Whoever wins this belt will be either put on, moved up, or stay on the undisputed founders. That's how important this fight is. This is a generational defining fight. Due to the fact that this is going to be the man to rule them all. We have been waiting for an answer as to who is indeed the best heavyweight in the world. Now we finally have it at our disposal. With storylines galore. Tyson Fury coming back, beating Klitschko, becoming a champion, a unified champion, then going into a downward spiral, having suicidal thoughts, having to step away from the sport of boxing, seemingly to never return, all of a sudden comes back, becomes a champion again, has the phenomenal fights with people like Deontay Wilder, that phenomenal trilogy. Then we get Usyk, undisputed champion, moving up to heavyweight, or undisputed champion at cruiserweight. First since Evander Holyfield, moves up to heavyweight, questioning whether or not he's going to actually be able to dominate. Dominates the heavyweight division, beats AJ twice. The man that Tyson Fury never got to fight, or never fought, period. And now, they're finally here to meet. This is an incredibly entertaining affair. And the breakdown of this fight, this is where we break down the fight. Who is going to win? And how can each fighter win? Will it end in a draw? My opinion on this fight, there is a distinct way that each fighter can win. Starting with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, again, as we know, is a larger man. It's the bigger man. He's not 6'8" when we saw him stand against Francis Ngannou. But he is, at minimum, 6'6". 6'5", 6'6", just about. Still a towering, monstrous man. Limbs as long as an NBA player. Can box on the outside. Has good speed. Has a good jab. Can knock you out. Has legitimate power. Though his game isn't power. No, he can put you to sleep. Is one of the heaviest heavyweights in the division. Again, we know what Tyson Fury is as a boxer. Against somebody like Usyk. He's got advantages that can beat him. Like, he can lean on him. Like we've seen him do against every other opponent, specifically against smaller opponents. Drain the gas tank of Usyk and make it so that footwork turns into plodding forward movement. Because that's Usyk's biggest call to frame. In a world of heavyweights that are big, lumbering, and can't move, Usyk is a callback to the days of old. Boxers like Joe Louis, boxers like Jersey Joe Walcox, boxers like Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, in terms of fighters who had footwork. Ali. Not saying he's as great as them. I'm saying the smaller era of heavyweights who could use footwork like weight classes below them. Heavyweights that could move like lightweights, move like middleweights. Had that diverse ability to fight in a bunch of different styles. Were fluid, were active, had great stamina, all this. That's what Usyk has at his disposal. You ruin that by taking away the stamina. And with Fury being so big and so lumbering, he can lean on Usyk, force this fight into an infight, which may seem like a not good plan against somebody like a Usyk, but to take away the ability to move so that then you can really utilize your size and power as the rounds go on and turn it into, oh my gosh, now I can't move and I can't get out of the way of this tree trunk of a man who's got reach as long as space that can reach me, and I don't have the energy to slip, move, dodge like I want to, like I need to. I can't react like I need to. Hence, the blows of Fury then get heavy, and the blows of Fury then get more damaging. Next thing you know, we can see Usyk cut, we can see Usyk bruised, we can see Usyk hurt, let alone we can see Usyk knocked down. It's not out of the question. Tyson Fury does have the power to knock out Usyk. Oh, it is possible. He could go through that vein, using his weight and size to lean and make Usyk tire out. Also, he could just use his reach outright and make it so that Usyk can't get on the inside. If we see Usyk, who again is incredibly lean, part of the best shape I have ever seen him in his career, from start to finish. Ironic because it's the latter half of his career. Most fit I've ever seen him. We could see that footwork that we thought was gone. The footwork that we thought was something of the past. Now return. With him, again, no more weight, no more excess bulge, no more fat, all that stuff. Looks like he's cleaned up and leaned up. We could see the energy in that footwork now return. It's entirely possible. And if that's the case, hey, now, all of a sudden, if you, not saying he's on the level of footwork of Usyk, but between good and great versus great and elite, if Tyson Fury can use great footwork against somebody like a Usyk to stay on the outside, now that reach inevitably becomes the deciding factor. And that jab becomes more poignant. And now you turn this game into an outside battle. That if you do it right, Usyk may not be able to win. May not be able to overcome. It's entirely possible. There are, again, Fury has, not only that, Fury has the chin to be able to take the power of Usyk. Usyk has deceptive pop. Again, knocked out Daniel Dubois, has wobbled AJ on multiple occasions, has been able to, again, do real damage at the heavyweight division against all comers, not just against somebody with as questionable of a chin as Anthony Joshua. We know that this man Usyk is the real deal, but the power may not be enough to make Tyson Fury respect him. And hey, the biggest thing about boxing, if you can't gain the respect, you lost half the battle. You're fighting an uphill battle at that point. Because if you can't make them respect you, now they feel they can do whatever they want. And if that's the case, they can take chances that will affect you more than it will affect them. Put themselves in what should be a dangerous situation when it really isn't dangerous at all because you have nothing to give back to them. Next thing you know, all of a sudden you're thinking, my gosh, I'm in trouble. How did this happen? Well, it's because I don't have respect for what you bring to the table. There's no power that I need to worry about. There's nothing else I need to worry about. It makes no sense for me to worry about something that isn't there. There's no invisible enemy because there is no enemy. That's what could be seen on the side of Fury if, in fact, the power of Usyk is not something that he needs to worry about. Guys, let's face it. Yes, I thought he lost against Francis Ngannou. And he felt the power of Francis Ngannou. And the power of Francis Ngannou was on the level of somebody like Deontay Wilder. In every situation, against either Wilder, Ngannou, even Cunningham back in the day, he got up. He's been down before, but he got up every single time. Every single time. We have to give credit to that. This is a man who will not stop and will not quit and has felt the power of some of the strongest in the world, transcending just one sport. And he still came back and was able to not just finish the fight, but win in all occasions. Again, I thought he lost to Francis Ngannou. Understandable, but outside of that, officially, he's been able to come back and win on every single occasion. This is not somebody who isn't used to just regular or isn't privy to what power is. No, he's tested it. He's tasted it. And he's been able to overcome it. This could be, of everything else, the biggest situation or the biggest circumstance that makes this fight either go in Fury's way or not. If there's no power. If there is no power for him to worry about, it could be incredibly difficult for Usyk to win. And I would not be surprised if people picked him to win. I would not either. It's an understandable thing that somebody that big going up against somebody who, again, who's what, 6'3"? Understandable. Going up against somebody 6'6", 6'7". It's not out of the question to say, oh my gosh, it's just too tall of a task. Literally. That's what most people would say. If you understand the world of boxing, however, you didn't understand that it's not just about the size. It's about the ability. The skill is what makes the boxer, not just the size of the boxer. And Tyson Fury is a good heavyweight. Absolutely. But here's why I don't think he can win, though he could win. Though Tyson Fury could win. And by the way, last thing, how he could win specifically in terms of active punch for punch, what he could do in the fight. If you're Tyson Fury, go to the body. The biggest thing, the biggest weakness on Usyk, we could see Fury go to the body with that long reach to stay safe and damage Usyk and get him out of there potentially. We saw it against Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois landed one shot on the belt line, which I believe is legal. Should be legal. And got him. If Usyk, brother, if that ref had counted instead of scoring it as a low blow, which I still don't believe it was, that would have been a knockdown. And we could have seen that fight go a completely different direction. We could see Daniel Dubois in this very situation instead of Usyk. Oh yeah, we've seen him hurt against the body by AJ before. Yes, we have. Especially in that second fight, when AJ put on a better performance than the first one. The body is his weakness. The body is a place he does not like to get hit. The body will affect him. If you go to the body, that will also help drain that stamina and make him privy and potentially hesitant to want to jump in on the inside where he would need to be in order to win the fight. Now, stuff could go your way. It could indeed end a knockout via body shot. It's entirely possible. Or even a body shot that leads to him wanting to defend that side. Next thing you know, Tyson Fury throws a long hook to the body that looks like a hook to the body. But in fact, he changes the direction and turns to an uppercut. Catches him, just like he caught Dillian White, and knocks him out. It's entirely possible. Tyson Fury has a legitimately good shot at winning this fight. But I don't think he will win. And my pick for this fight is Oleksandr Usyk. I think Usyk is going to win. Reason being, I've said this before about Tyson Fury and Usyk. Tyson Fury is a good heavyweight with elite size. That's the thing. And a good heavyweight with elite size gets beat by a great heavyweight with good size. Or in this case, even below average size. Because Tyson Fury has everything at his disposal, but at a good level. What makes him so dominant is the size that he has compared to everybody else in the division. It is something that is hard to overcome. Because a good jab is coming from 85 plus inches away. That's what it is. You could beat him on the inside with infighting. However, it's 260 to 290 pounds leaning on you. He's got good footwork, but good footwork at 6'7", 6'6" is hard to beat. It is. But if you have great footwork, now you can mitigate all that. If you have great footwork, it can alleviate you from being able to have to get on the inside in terms of being forced to feel the weight of Fury. Because you can get out before he tries to clinch. You can score shots and work your way on the inside and land punches. And understand and have the ability to escape to the left or right or even back before Tyson Fury has an opportunity to react. Good footwork can negate great size. That's what Usyk has. Usyk is a great heavyweight with great talent, elite talent across the board. Though his size may not be elite, a good heavyweight with great size will lose to an elite heavyweight with average or just good size. It will. I've said this countless times. Usyk has the ability to negate everything that Tyson Fury wants to do. It truly does. Outside of the weight, because again, that's just weight, pound for pound. Fury just bigger than Usyk. Okay, great. Usyk, we could see Usyk legitimately use his footwork, not just to confuse Tyson Fury, but to hide and disguise his attack so that when he does get on the inside, Fury can't react to it. Plus, we routinely know that Tyson Fury struggles against smaller fighters. Again, Cunningham knocked him down. Otto Wallin cut him. Legitimately gave him some good work. Even somebody like Tyson Fury, somebody like Ngannou, who, yes, was shorter and was not nearly as technically refined. I understand it. Just on that pinpoint alone, somebody matches him in one aspect of the boxing game, whether it's footwork or size. You match him in one of those assets, now he becomes a liability, like we saw against Francis Ngannou. It's just the nature of the beast. We saw it. I'm not trying to make some clickbait thing. No, we saw this. We saw somebody match him in size, and he gave him some trouble. We saw somebody match him in speed and or footwork like Cunningham earlier in his career, gave him some trouble. Somebody who was actually able to get on the inside versus Fury gave him some trouble. Wilder matched him in speed or was faster than him, strictly off of raw athletic talent. Was able to knock him down in every single outing of their fight. Every single one. Caught him every single time. Did not fail. This, if you match him in one aspect, whether it's size and or athleticism and or footwork, you can beat him. That's what Usyk brings to the table. He's got the footwork. He's got the knowledge. He's got the deceptive explosiveness when he wants to go and attack, like we see with Lomachenko, who is able to disguise what he's about to do. And when he does do it, now you're reacting a second too late. Is a master at it. We saw him do it against AJ twice. We see him do it against countless other opponents. We know what Usyk brings to the table. Elite footwork, elite offensive game, an elite mindset that can be defensive and offensive at the same time. We could see Usyk be able to actually win the outside game, as crazy enough as it sounds. Because remember, I believe it was either Mike Tyson, Customato, or one of the legendary boxers. I believe it was Mike Tyson. He's the one that said, look, a good jab isn't just because you got a long reach. A good jab is about timing. You can ask Larry Holmes, same thing as well. Timing can beat anything. A good time jab, even from a short fighter, can dominate a taller fighter if you can get their timing right. Even though Fury has a longer reach, the timing of Usyk could be the very thing that changes the whole trajectory of the fight, because he takes away the biggest avenue that we could see Fury use, which is his length and size, which is outboxing. We see that Usyk wins the outside game against somebody like a Tyson Fury. My gosh, that brother, I don't know what Fury does next except for being forced to work on the inside. And what have we seen happen when Fury works on the inside against people who are athletic and or have better footwork? He's been knocked down or caught before. We've seen it before. Again, Wilder, when he was able to use that jab straight and get on the inside and get within range to throw the masterful punch that he has, might be the only thing in this arsenal, but he mastered it. To throw that 1-2, caught him and hurt him every single time. Never. Every time he got in range with Wilder, when he got caught flush, he went down at least once in every time in the fight. Cunningham caught him with the overhand, stepping in. Put him down. We know this to be true. Ngannou, when he landed that hook on Fury, knocked him down when Fury was on the inside. Traded with him. In fact, it was a catch and counter. Fury has weaknesses. Nobody's been able to exploit them unless they were either matching Fury in one or both aspects. Footwork and athleticism and or skill set. Or size. Footwork, athleticism, and size. Again, I'm rolling that all into one. And or size. Now we see somebody who can match Fury in every single aspect of the sport. Except for size. But again, Fury's a good heavyweight with elite size. Now you're going up against an elite heavyweight with average to good size. Look for the elite heavyweight that can use footwork to get on the inside, that can have the ability to confuse you and take angles quicker than you can react to, has the hand speed to be able to win on the inside with exchanges and escape when you try to lean on them. as well as won't be stupid enough to try to fight out of a clinch that you have him in if he does get clinched up, and conserve his energy so he doesn't get gassed out for the remainder of the fight. Couple that with a deceptive offensive ability that can not only be relentless but also be confusing and also lead to shots that you don't see hitting you every single time he goes to throw. Again, him and Lomachenko fighting very similar styles. Might even be in the same camp if I remember correctly. Both of them have an offensive style that allows for them to be able to hurt you. Because a lot of the shots that you see them get hit with, in terms of the opponent get hit with by either Usyk or Loma, it is shots that they don't see coming because they got confused. They're trying to defend, they can't find Loma or they can't find Usyk. Next thing you know, they get caught. And it's not even a shot that looks devastating, but because they can't prepare for it, it hurts them. It drops them. It knocks them out. Stuns them and wobbles them. We know this. It's the punches that you can't see that gets you in the most trouble. Usyk does it by standing right in front of you and then disappearing out of nowhere. That is what Usyk brings. That's what Usyk can do. That's what he can do to Tyson Fury. When you are a good heavyweight if you are a good heavyweight with elite size, and you're going to get somebody with elite everything else and only average size, now that elite heavyweight has the ability to mitigate your elite size because they have the not only understanding, but they have the ability, they have the footwork, they have the speed, and they have the knowledge to both be able to counteract and react to whatever you use at your best range. Then when it comes to their own range, like we're getting on the inside, like with the flourish, like with the hand speed, like with the combination punching, like with the level change, all of that, Tyson Fury, I don't believe, is going to be able to react to that. Even now, as the grand rivals arrived today, and we saw Tyson Fury in the best shape of his life, like I said earlier, it could be, in fact, a worse situation for Tyson Fury. Because maybe, and again, I only say this because we've seen this before with other fighters. Sometimes when you lose something about yourself, it takes away, while it does add something to you, it can take away something from something else. It truly can. You'll be surprised. One of the biggest things, again, if you don't follow the internet, understandable. But there's a guy, there is this event called Influencer Boxing. And it's the most recent but understandable testament to what I'm about to understand. Follow me through this. Influencer Boxing, where YouTubers and other celebrities go and they fight and they box against people. Again, other celebrities. Sometimes special guests, athletes come into play, but whatever the case may be. In this fight, there's a guy named Salt Poppy, another internet influencer. The brother legitimately, as a talent, is the best out of everybody in that whole boxing realm from his ability. And indeed is. He's got speed, he's got slickness, he looks comfortable, he's always poised, he is a great counterpuncher. Absolutely. And early on, he was able to knock anybody out. Not just because he was just leagues better. Not just because he had trained in boxing before, but because it's legitimately, he had power along with the sleek technical ability. And just the ease at which he was able to see what was coming and react to it. Then he goes and fights for a title in the influencer space. Loses weight. Goes and fights against a guy named Slim. Another powerful puncher with long range. Ironically enough. Just like Fury and Usyk. However, had some early success and then, all of a sudden, nothing was working. Ended up getting knocked down in round 5. And knocked out right afterwards. This was a testament to all of a sudden, this man who should have been better than everybody else in the division couldn't do what he normally did. Couldn't have the same level of success that we had seen him have against every other opponent. Why was that? Well, it was because of the weight. One of the biggest things about Salt Poppy in his physique, he looked out of shape. He looked overweight. He looked bad. Yes, he did. However, that weight fit him. It was comfortable for him. It allowed for him to do everything that he wanted to do at the peak of his prowess, along with adding the power that was putting everybody to sleep. From people that were, again, 210, 220, The people that were his same weight, he was putting everybody to sleep. Next thing you know, he loses weight, he gets slimmed up, and he can't do anything. In terms of being able to, he's connecting, but it ain't amounting to anything. It's not hurting the opponent like he wanted to. It almost looks like he's letting up when he goes to throw. But it's the same punch he's been throwing the entirety of his career. Only problem is there's nothing behind it anymore. He lost one of the biggest assets that made him so good. He indeed did. And it's because of the weight. He changed, but he didn't change for the better. He looked better, but it wasn't better for him. That's what we could see with Tyson Fury as one of the biggest instances in this fight. We could see Tyson Fury with the lost weight, with the better physique, with the best shape of his life. Ironically enough, not be the best shape of his life. Because if he doesn't have that added weight, with him being, again, one of the biggest things about him, having the best size advantage in boxing, now you take away, while you have the height, you take away some of that weight, and you're more comparable to some of the other heavyweights in the division. Not only does your ability to wane on your opponents get affected, your ability to land a punch could potentially be affected. May not have as much pop as you used to have. May not have the power that all that extra weight added to you that made you an even more lethal opposition versus whoever you fought against. On top of, this is the biggest thing, your ability to take a punch and to get hit and be able to keep on trucking and moving. The chin that we know Tyson Fury has, that could be compromised with not having the added weight. There's no more added cushion. There's no more ability for the fat and the mass of your body to be able to coil and react and absorb whatever lands on you. And it could be that one of the biggest assets of Fury now gets taken away from him by his own volition, unbeknownst to him. And the weight that would have absorbed everything, the very thing that allowed for him to get up from what seemed like a death shot from Deontay Wilder the first time, as well as to get up from the other 3 times that he got knocked down from Deontay Wilder. It won't be there anymore. Because that same padding, that same shock absorber is no longer there. It has been trimmed and slimmed. You'll have better stamina, potentially. You'll have better, I believe you'll have better agility. Great. Now when you get hit, I have to ask, is your chin still the same? Not because it's not proven, but because we haven't seen you like this before. And in a situation where we haven't seen you like this before, we need to ask, is it better or worse for you? I'm not trying to make some overarching claim. I'm not trying to be some conspiracy theorist. I'm saying we've seen this before. Andy Ruiz, for example. He was at a perfect weight that allowed him to shock the world. Next thing you know, he balloons up too much. Boom. All of a sudden, hey, you're too out of shape. Then he slims down too much. We see Andy Ruiz go against Chris Arreola right after the second fight with Anthony Joshua, when he loses weight. Next thing you know, he's down. And it's like, oh my gosh, what happened? And Chris Arreola, with respect to him, is a boxer that, yeah, he's got pop, but it ain't AJ pop. And you got put down by that? Hold on now. In a realm that you were supposed to be winning on the inside because of your hand speed and your legitimate power on your end, you the one that got put down? That, whoa, hey now. It was a competitive fight, but the point being, losing weight took something away from him. Took a aspect of his boxing ability and relegated it into not being nearly the big asset to him that he used to be. See, the same thing with Tyson Fury. Sometimes the physique that you have is the best physique that you need. And if you take away from that, it doesn't happen often. We've seen it before. It can affect you in a worse way. And in this situation, with somebody like a Tyson Fury, losing weight is something that could potentially hurt him against somebody like a Usyk. Because he's trying to get ready for the speed and the movement that's about to come his way. He needs to be lean enough to be able to react and move along with Usyk. Understandable. We get that. The problem is, now you may have just opened yourself up to the biggest danger that you never expected. which was, oh my gosh, I could now be caught and put down by this, again, short man, as Fury always calls Usyk. And it's like, what the world? His power shouldn't be able to affect me. No, it shouldn't, but it is. Because now you don't have the same chin as you used to, because the shock absorber that you had in your entire body is no longer there anymore. It's not. Outside of somebody like a Deontay Wilder and Francis Ngannou, nobody else we had seen in the division have been able to put you down. If you weren't AJ, if you weren't Wilder, and if you weren't Ngannou, nobody thought anybody else in the division had a shot to really put you down. Nobody. Not at this stage. Not at this stage in your career. No, absolutely not. However, now, with you being potentially below 170, 168, with as lean as you are, I wouldn't be surprised to be close to 150. Not be surprised at all. Again, you look phenomenal. The problem is the look, are looks deceiving? Are looks deceiving in this case scenario? And will we see that Fury actually signed his own death certificate? Not in terms of actually dying. Please don't. But in terms of signed his own waiver. Signed his own note into a hospital due to him potentially getting knocked out by him not having the weight on him anymore. Because what if it goes on the flip side? What if in fact we see that Tyson Fury now, with the lost amount of weight, with the leanness that he has, actually not just loses chin, but loses power as well. And while he may gain some speed, gain some fluidity, somebody as elite as Usyk in terms of footwork wise, as much of a madman as we've heard Tyson Fury be in training camp, which is rumored to be, this man is absolutely gung-ho about winning this fight to make up for the Francis Ngannou fight. Understand, but love the drive, need it. We want to see the best of the best. That doesn't mean that we can't ask these questions that need to be asked about what we're seeing from this big of a drastic change from Tyson Fury versus what we've seen from all the other times we've seen him in his career. This is a valid question. Will we see his body compromising? Will we see Fury's body compromising when going up against Usyk? Because while he may have added agility, added potential, the ability to use footwork again at the rate that he used to at his prime, potentially with him losing the weight, with him being lighter on his feet, literally. Did he compromise that, or rather did he trade that off for power and ability to take a punch at the rate that he used to? Because if that does happen, and we see Usyk be able to land cleanly on Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury can't take it, all of a sudden, like I said in the first break, or in the breakdown with Fury and how he could win. Now, if Usyk doesn't respect the power coming his way, and you're the one that's now on the back burner, hey, what the world? Now you're being put in the very situation you thought you wouldn't be put in. You could be put in the hunted, not the hunter. You could be the one that now, oh my gosh, I have to be wary. Similar to what we saw versus Francis Ngannou. Because unlike Francis Ngannou, if Usyk's power, with your loss in weight, if Usyk's power is able to affect you, and let alone your power can't affect Usyk with you losing weight, and we see that Usyk now is the man that has lost respect for you and your ability to bring anything to the table to affect him, we could see you turn into what you turned into versus Francis Ngannou, who was the outright more powerful man that shocked you to your core, that made you get on this incredible health rejuvenation. And what we see you now with your lean physique. But that very instance could happen again in this fight. And now we see you, in terms of Tyson Fury, be chased, be hunted, be put in a situation where you are now fighting out instead of fighting in a fight. It could be incredibly bad. And I think we're going to see Usyk win. For everybody that says that Tyson Fury is too big, too strong, whatever, all of a sudden your tune started to change after that Francis Ngannou fight. Again, the unknown of what we're seeing from Tyson Fury is yet to be seen up until Saturday night, but the point still stands. When it comes to Tyson Fury, now he's got something to prove. Understandable. Will he be able to prove it though? And did he trade off enough? Or did he trade off too much? And if he traded off too much, if he gave up too much, if he sacrificed too much weight for speed and agility to take away from his power and his chin, this could be a very shocking fight for a lot of people. For a lot of people, because again, people are still saying that he didn't take Francis Ngannou easy. Hence, there's no reason why when he's taking Usyk serious, no reason why he should win. Yes, there is a reason why Usyk should win. Usyk is indeed the better boxer. Yes, he is. Usyk has a better repertoire, a better offensive arsenal, better footwork, better speed, better combination punching, a better infighter. Has the ability to win and beat Fury at outboxing, beat Fury at his own game, negate the range that Fury brings to the table, and turn Fury into a essentially one-trick pony. If he doesn't get caught to the body in terms of Usyk, we could see Usyk get an upset that everybody else never expected. I've been saying it from day one. Usyk is the better boxer. Usyk is the best heavyweight in the world. He's still got to prove it. If he loses this fight, Tyson Fury's the best. It is what it is. If nothing wonky or nothing outlandish happens that makes us question everything, and Usyk loses, Usyk lost. Came in as the better man, but he left not the better man. Plain and simple. I ain't got no dog in the fight. But I'm adamant on what I've been standing on. Usyk has everything that Tyson Fury is afraid of in terms of what an opponent brings to the table. Indeed, he does. Speed, athleticism, footwork, timing, IQ, better ring generalship than Fury has. He has a weakness, his body. Absolutely. But Fury has a weakness himself. Fighters that are faster than him. As we saw with Deontay Wilder, the worst of the heavyweight elites. His speed alone was able to make Tyson Fury question everything. Made him have to think. His speed alone nearly won him a title against Fury. His speed alone nearly got him a upset in one of the biggest, or one of the best fights in heavyweight history in their trilogy, in that third outing. His speed and athleticism alone, and his heart. Usyk's got all that. He may not have the power, brother. He's got the speed and everything else. And we're going to see, in my estimation, Usyk beat Fury. Probably by unanimous decision. But if it ended in knockout, ended in a stoppage, I would not be surprised. Not because we're testing or questioning the heart of somebody like a Tyson Fury, but because of two things. One, the cut that he got in training camp could get opened up. Same cut that he got against Otto Arlene could be opened up. And that could lead to the ref having to stop the fight due to it being too severe to continue. On top of, with him having the heart of a champion, no questions asked, it is the chin and the shock absorber that may be changed for the worse with this loss in weight that could cause for Usyk to now have enough power to be able to actually catch and drop Fury. And with the offensive repertoire that he has at his disposal, he's not going to let up. And the mistake of being able to only be able to evade and get out of dodge one way like Fury was able to do against Deontay Wilder, it is instead of wild unpredictability, it is surgical precision on the side of Usyk when it comes to finishing the job. Not saying he's the greatest finisher in the world, no. But I'm saying when he has you hurt, he knows what to do. And he will pick his shots meticulously to get you out of there. Especially if he got you on the ropes and got you hurt. Oh, he's aggressive. Don't let the footwork fool you. That brother is aggressive. He'll go for it if it's there. And it won't be like with Deontay Wilder, where he'll gas out. Or well, he'll be able to miss wildly. No. He'll boom, boom, boom. On the button every time. That's what's going to be happening for Tyson Fury, potentially, in this fight. And that's why I think it's going to win. I think we're going to see Usyk win. I think we're going to see Usyk shock the world. I think we're going to see Usyk uphold what I've been saying about Usyk all this time. That Usyk is indeed the best heavyweight in the world today. and that he will be seen as the baddest man on the planet with that undisputed crown. Because again, when you're undisputed at the heavyweight division, that's the only division that gets that claim. If you're the baddest man on the planet at heavyweight, you are the undisputed champion. You are the king of the biggest of the big. And the most dangerous of the most dangerous. Where everybody's got power, where everybody's got pop, where everybody can knock anybody out with a single blow. Anybody can knock anybody out with a single shot. You reign over them all. And whoever wins this fight is most likely going to be seen as the best of an era. Whoever wins this fight is going to be seen as the best of this generation of heavyweights. It's just the truth. If Usyk wins this fight, good God, she's got an argument for pound best in the world. He really does. He wins and becomes undisputed in two weight classes, cruiserweight and heavyweight, beats Tyson Fury. He's got an argument for being the best in the world, pound for pound. Definitely got an argument for being one of the greatest that we've ever seen in heavyweight history. There is an argument there. Because he ran through everybody that was notable. Beat them all. Only person that he didn't beat was Wilder. That's because, hey, Wilder got beat. And he got it knocked down the rung. Understandable. But other than real competitors that separated themselves, Usyk went and got him and beat him. This could be legendary. And for Tyson Fury, what this could mean for him, this could mean that he and his resume and reputation get saved because of what we have seen and what we've been saying about Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury as a heavyweight is somebody who we are now on legitimate fraud watch because of what happened to him versus Francis Ngannou. And as we've seen in the past, got on him for not fighting AJ, as well as not making this fight with Usyk sooner and making it incredibly difficult, and consistently taking on opposition that was lower than him in terms of a talent perspective. Derek Chisora, 4 times, I think, just about. Dillian White rematching him for a second or third time when nobody wanted to see that fight at all. Sitting on your couch saying, I run the world, I can do what I want. Going about that as a heavyweight, on top of what we saw versus Francis Ngannou. My gosh, your resume took a hit like no other. This could mitigate all of it. But this also could validate what we've been saying. As a heavyweight in this generation, you were only good because of how big you were, not because of your skill set. Though your skill set was good. Good. Not great. Good. It was your elite size that carried you to where it got you. But if you faced against somebody of any of the older generation, Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson, Joe Frazier, Joe Louis, we can go down the list. You wouldn't be able to beat him because you are not skilled as a heavyweight. You're just big as a heavyweight. And your skill set was only up to the point that it got you to be able to dominate in a division in an era that no other heavyweight was really focused on technical ability. Everything was based on size. That's what it was. You won the race for who's the biggest in the division, not for who's the best. Now you go against somebody who is indeed technically better than you in nearly every facet. If you lose this fight, it proves what we've been saying. It proves what I've been saying. Let me not say wait. It proves what I've been saying about you as a heavyweight. You were only good because of how big you were as a heavyweight in this era of big heavyweights being the end-all be-all. Now we know, and it will probably cause a resurgence of technical ability being the number one priority when it comes to the heavyweight division. If we see Tyson Fury lose, if we see that happen, we're going to have a lot of questions, a lot of commentary, a lot of new discussions revolving Tyson Fury. Trust and believe that. But I got Usyk winning by unanimous decision. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, by unanimous decision, I got Usyk winning. Potentially split decision, if indeed we see Tyson Fury overcome and shock me. Again, worst comes to worst, we see Tyson Fury win outright. Hey, no problem there. If it happens, it happens. Wouldn't be surprised if it was a unanimous decision on the side of Usyk. And we see potentially Usyk drop and or knock out Tyson Fury. It's possible. If that chin is indeed suspect, like I think it may be, with him losing all this weight, we could see something. We could see a performance that shocks everybody. We really could. With Usyk standing tall as the undisputed heavyweight champion for the first time in nearly 25 years. Finally, history gets made. And we finally get to see what we've been waiting to see. Who has the claim, the rightful claim, to being the baddest man on the planet? My opinion is going to be Oleksandr Usyk. But again, we still got more to cover in the world of sports in general, because with this week going on, we got the NBA going on. Oh, yes, indeed. We got the NBA. And what? Let me tell you something. It has been an incredibly entertaining display with the NBA playoffs. Everybody's tired too, ironically enough. And it's mind-boggling. Again, now without the dynasties or big threes dominating the rest of the league, it's wide open for anybody. Celtics are beating the Cleveland Cavaliers 3-1. Again, we already knew that was going to happen. We can expect them to end that series within the week, probably going on a 4-1 gentleman's sweep. And we're seeing Tyson Tatum playing like he's 6'8", 6'9". Playing like the Jason Tatum that we thought was going to be the face of the league. He's finally turning it on against a team that he should have beaten, arguably in a sweep game before this. People are saying it should be 4-0, not 4-1. In my estimation, that's what it should be. But it's probably going to end in 4-1 by the time the next team comes into play. If we see Jason Tatum again, keep remembering that he is 6'8" and playing like Jason Tatum. Like a Jason Tatum that should be at the forefront of being the face of the league. Not one that, like we saw in the last finals appearance, falters and seemingly underachieves whenever he gets into big-time situations. We see that consistent dominant Jason Tatum. Oh, yeah, it's going to be over. It's going to be some kind of trouble for anybody else that faces him in the second round. On top of that, on the other side of the bracket, we got Timberwolves and the Nuggets. After a dominating display by the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Nuggets have been able to fight their way back, plow their way back into tying the series at 2-2. And with Nikola Jokic winning his third MVP, which is, again, incredibly phenomenal, third MVP in 4 years. This is a man who, let's be perfectly honest, he is the best player in the league, but is showing up playing like it. And the impact that this brother has been showing is incredible. Being able to adapt and overcome against this Minnesota Timberwolves squad that looked like, oh my gosh, they may have their number. They really may. With Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert on their squad, with Cat on their squad playing great, with Anthony Edwards playing like the future best player in the world. Getting compared to Michael Jordan left, right, and center. Again, I got my own qualms on that comparison. We'll get back to that later. Either way, the brother's showing at an early age he can indeed be elite, taking on every challenge. Now we see that the Nuggets were able to come back and all of a sudden flip the script. Now they have the Timberwolves looking for answers. And what that answer is for the Timberwolves, if they want to cause an upset in this series, is to make it so that Nikola Jokic can dominate, but the rest of the team has to suck. It sounds simple, but something that people don't really implement. They try to get and stop Nikola Jokic specifically. Perfectly fine. You can stop him. But the reason why he is one of the most impactful players in the world is because you stopping him doesn't stop everybody else. He will get everybody else to be dominant on his behalf. The ultimate maestro in the NBA. Arguably the best playmaker that the NBA has to offer right now. Best court vision. Again, the best player. Because even without him touching the ball, he can still affect everybody else in the game. And on top of that, he'll still give you 20 plus off of just straight up rebounds and putbacks. Alone. The simple getting the scraps of opponents. He'll get 20 and 10 based on just putbacks and rebounds. That's it. It's his ability to find other people that makes him so devastating to anybody that he plays against. Now with the Timberwolves, they were able to mitigate that in the first 2 games. However now, it's not the case no more. All of a sudden, we're seeing Aaron Gordon turn into prime Kobe. 29 points on incredible field goal percentage. Insane. Michael Porter Jr. getting his shooting stroke back. Jamal Murray being Jamal Murray. Understandable. But it's the fact that if you can get the rest of the role players to suck, to be a non-factor, to not be able to shoot and be consistent, to close out on them and force them to have to feed the ball back to Jokic and make Jokic do all the work in terms of the offensive blow. Let Jokic score 35, dare I say 40. But you stop everybody else from getting into single digits. Now you got a shot at winning. Now you can be that suffocating defense that we saw you be against Denver in your first couple games. That's what can happen. You got to get back to that. You got to stop the rest of the supporting cast. Let the stars be the stars. You can't stop them. Understandable. But if you can live with Jokic getting 30, 35, holding the 6 assists instead of the 11 to 12 that we know he can average, dare I say holding the 4 assists, and make everybody else on that team shoot abysmal from the percentage, stop Aaron Gordon from getting in that dunker spot and consistently being able to dominate, catch lobs, and do, again, scrapyard work that'll get him those points. Now you have this team on the ropes. You may not be able to stop Jamal Murray either, but if you can let Jamal Murray at least contain him to 25 instead of 30, 35, and Jokic does all the brunt work and grunt work when it comes to the offensive load, putting the ball in the bucket, not distributing. Now you got a shot at beating him. That's what you did in the first couple games. That's what you can do in this game. That's how you turn this series around, if that's possible. Again, the coaching job of Mike Malone, incredible. Adapting to what they were doing. Now it's up to the Timberwolves to make that same adaptation. Still be defensively sound, but narrow or spotlight your defense now in a different way. Make it so that you turn people like Aaron Gordon, turn people like KCP, turn people like Michael Porter Jr., turn them all into non-factors, and force it to be a literal two-man game of Jokic and Jamal. You let that happen, sure, both of them may combine for 60. But then after that, if nobody else can get above 10, well, that means nothing. We know with Anthony Edwards, Cat on that squad, they can easily score 100 in terms of what the Timberwolves can be. Offensively. Defensively, they're already the best in the league, in my estimation, from what I can understand with their NBA rankings. Oh, they have the ability to do it. They can pull off this upset. It's a matter of if they can make the rest of that supporting cast become an absolute non-factor. Let Jokic and Jamal dominate. Sure, putting the ball in the bucket. You hold everybody else to scrap yard work and let them literally do scrap, nothing, be an absolute, essentially a net negative for the rest of that team in terms of their ability to shoot and score when the time is called upon for them. Now you can do some damage. Now you can make them really get on the ropes and potentially cause an upset in the series. And for a young team that finally has their identity as a defensive monster, you can get to the conference finals. My gosh. You could do it. You could dethrone the reigning champs. It is entirely possible. And you got the man to do it with Anthony Edwards. But it's all up to you if you can implement that game plan. Also, with the Knicks and Pacers being tied 2-2, my gosh. It's a situation we want to see the Pacers get to a conference finals with Jalen Brunson carrying the squad. He has been doing everything possible on his own front to keep this team alive. But I don't think they're going to be able to win strictly because they're too hurt. They're down too many men. They don't have the requisite pieces necessary. Brunson, OG Anunoby, Hartenstein, and Mitchell Robinson, along with Josh Hart, were a deadly duo that were putting in work against this Pacers squad. Defensively and offensively, especially OG Anunoby. The biggest X factor on that squad outside of somebody like Josh Hart. Again, we know the star is Jalen Brunson. Josh Hart now coming up big, average, getting, 18 rebounds in multiple games? Insane at being only, 6'3", 6'2"? Coming up clutch with threes. Dante DiVincenzo playing phenomenal. But it's OG Anunoby that has been the guy when he was healthy and when he was able to play. That was the biggest disruptor on defense and one of the biggest offensive contributors when it came to you need a bucket, you need to get to the lane, and you're not Jalen Brunson, give it to OG. Let him use that length and athleticism to get to the rim and just disrupt everybody. That's what OG was. Now he's out with a hamstring. Mitchell Robinson got surgery on his ankle. He's gone. Now you're running at minimum, or maybe at maximum. You're running 6 deep if you're the Knicks as a whole for your team. It may be that while you are indeed a quality squad, that by the looks of it, if everybody was healthy, it's better than the Pacers and should be able to beat the Pacers. It's just the fact that you're undermanned. You're just undermanned just enough that the Pacers' offensive ability, with them being, I believe, the best offense in the NBA, one of the best offenses in the NBA, now can take hold and do what they want to do. Matching up for them, you had them. You had them. Man for man, size for size, length for length, and speed for speed. You had them. Then Mitchell and OG got hurt. Now it may just be that it's just two little weapons on your end, on both sides of the floor, to be able to get it done. Not saying it's impossible. No. Not saying it's impossible. We see Dante DiVincenzo put up another 35-point performance like he did from three, along with Jalen Brunson doing what he did, and Josh Hart. We see that trio keep on performing like they've been performing. And we see the Patriots get off just slightly in the offensive game. Oh, yeah, Knicks can still win this and go on to the conference finals in their own right. Yes, they can. It's just the fact that on a consistency basis, they just may be too undermanned. With OG being gone specifically, that it may just be too much for them to overcome in the grand scheme of this playoff series. As right now, the Patriots have everybody relevant, healthy, and they're able to click and move on, move forward. Knicks, they were so dominant, everybody's buying in, but the people that made it work the best now are gone. Mitchell and OG. If OG comes back and is able to play at somewhat the same level, now we got a series. Or rather, now we have, they can still come back and win this. Not even come back, they can win this outright. They can win this. Let's say they take game 5, and then they go and they win next game, they can win this. No doubt in my mind they can win this. No doubt in my mind. They take game 5 and OG comes back game 6, I'll pick the Knicks to win outright. Because they just need one. They just need one of them. That's all. They just need one piece. Survive and get one piece back. But you have 100% confidence that they take this series. If not, though, it's hard for me to say. Don't hurt that Bojan Bogdanovic is also out. Been out for a minute. If he was healthy as well in this series, if everybody was healthy and man for man they went and played against the Pacers, series is done in 5. We would already be done with this by now. Guaranteed. It's just a fact because the injuries got the Knicks at the worst time possible. It's a struggle for me to say that they'll be able to win. It's a struggle. But if they somehow pull out game 5, not saying that they can't. They pull out game 5 and OG comes back for game 6, they got the series in the bag, in my estimation. From a humble outside observer, I think they'll have this in the bag. But it's up to whether they can hold on and survive, and if OG comes back. Also, with another tied 2-2 series, OKC and the Dallas Mavericks, this is a game where it is star power versus chemistry. MVP candidate Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who people thought may have been robbed of the MVP from Nikola Jokic. Ironically enough, the same storyline with Nikola and Joel Embiid last year. We're looking at a situation where it's a team chemistry-driven squad versus the star-laden squad in Dallas Mavericks with Luka and Kyrie, again, playing phenomenal. But the chemistry and fluidity of OKC is making this so hard for them to be able to just outright do away with. So difficult. And it might be that we need to see Luka not have the ball in his hands as much. Reports are coming out to saying that players see visibly on the court that when Luka doesn't have the ball in his hands, everybody else is a sigh of relief. They can play their game. All of a sudden, we see an air of freedom when Luka doesn't have the ball in his hand or when he goes to the bench. Now, how much do I believe in that? Not really sure. Only because when Luka is on, it's impossible for that team to not go on monumental runs. He's a magician for a region. Luka magic isn't just for nothing. No, he's got the ball in his hand because he is so dominant. However, if it falls into that the reason him having the ball in his hand so much is actually taking other people out of their own rhythm, now, maybe that explains why Tim Hardaway ain't doing what we expect from somebody who should be a good scorer playing at this low of a rate. That's why we see sometimes the offense seemingly get stagnant when Luka gets on the floor. Maybe it is true that we're seeing Luka control the ball too much, putting too much emphasis on not individual game, but making the game play at his pace may help him out, but hurts the rest of the team. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but I'm saying to do it at that much of a rate that it potentially takes away from the ability of the rest of your teammates to do what they need to do. Not because you don't trust them, but because your game just clashes with how they like to play or what suits them best as a supporting piece. Maybe it's time to switch it up. If you do that, maybe we can see, maybe we can see that star power really take it to the fullest of their effect. But if not, we continue to see these potential offensive lulls due to inactivity from the rest of the supporting cast. Not Kyrie, but the rest of the supporting cast around Luka. Now, that chemistry and that fluidity that we see Shai bringing to the entirety of their offense, that could take the day. That could indeed win the day. It is not out the question to see that happen. I don't know who to pick in this series. I really don't. I want to say it's Luka and Kyrie that's going to beat the youth and inexperience of somebody like Shai and the rest of the Dallas Mavericks squad. What I understand, they are all incredibly young. The majority haven't been to this deep of a playoff run outside maybe Lou Dort. But they're playing like a seasoned veteran squad. They get each other. They understand each other. They understand how to bring out the best of each other. It's a beautiful thing to watch. It's just a matter of will it be enough to overtake the star power of the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. I'm not trying to be flippant. I don't know. I really don't. This is one of the most perplexing series in terms of, for me being an observer, that I've seen in this entire playoff run. I need to see how this game is probably going to decide the rest of that series. This game's going to decide the rest of that series. If we see OKC take this game, most likely I would say they would win. On the flip side, if we see Dallas take this game, most likely I would say they take this series. Most likely. Most likely whoever wins this, it's going to be my pick to take this series and get to the next round. It's tight. It's so tight. I can't give you a definitive answer for this specific squad. But it's going to be fun to watch. This one's going to be fun to watch. But again, in the last segment of the show, we need to cover with Bronny James getting into the NBA Combine. Again, we talked about him going from college into the NBA, announcing his eligibility for the draft, going into the drills and all this stuff. We were all contemplating, what would it be? How would it actually pan out? Could somebody be 6'1" and still be dominant or still be an actual asset in the NBA, especially somebody like Bronny who only averaged 5'2" and 2 in his tenure in college at USC. Now, that didn't speak to his actual ability. Again, changing of roles could lead to a different outcome in terms of your individual performance in your role on a team when you transfer. And again, I believe he transferred to the Ohio State Buckeyes. But even still, announced his eligibility. We're questioning whether or not it was just his name that was getting him all these pushes, all of this cachet, all of this notoriety. And understandably, it was. But his talent now is showing that it is legitimate. Went to the drill combine, put up 12 threes in an absolute dominant display, second best display in the entirety of that specific shooting drill. Had everybody putting on notice. Everybody shot 16 for 25 on the entirety of the drill, of the moving drill. Test your stamina, your consistency, and your ability to shoot from different points on the floor. Went for a minute and 30 seconds straight without missing a shot. Then goes on to the vert challenge. Has a 40-plus inch vertical running at 6'1". That's incredibly impressive. That is indeed athleticism. That is elite athleticism. My gosh, that's insane athleticism. It's only 3 people that did better. This is a man who's physically, he is built for the NBA. He is. Physically, he's built for the NBA. He's got the athleticism to be able to compete. He's got the intangible, you can't teach what his body brings to the table. You can't. He may be undersized. You can't teach what he brings to the table. He has, for his size, elite physical capabilities. He does. It's a matter of how will it translate to the league. Right now, if we let those drills talk for him, it could translate pretty well. Looking like he could be a knockdown 3-and-D guy for anybody in the NBA. who is an athletic brother who can get back on the floor, who can do chase down blocks like his dad, like we saw him do in college. Won't just be out-muscled and moved around like we've seen other rookies come into the league and do. He could indeed be right in terms of what LeBron said. He could be ready for anybody in the NBA. Not saying that he's going to be elite. No, I'm not saying that. Could he be a contributor? Yes, he can. Could he be somebody that gives a team a legitimate asset that they can use on a consistent basis? Yes, he can. That's what it's looking like. I'm not trying to go overblown and call him all the greatest things in sliced bread. No, I'm not doing it. I'm saying it's interesting now because the stock and the push to get him, now it's going to be bolstered more and more. Now it's going to be seen as a real asset that a team may move up to try to get. Because again, with LeBron and the Lakers and his contract, I believe he's a free agent. Believe. I'm not saying I could be wrong. I believe. It's been stated by him countless times. Wants to play with his son. We've covered this before. He'll play with his son. He'll take a pay cut to play with his son. Wherever he chooses to go. We could see a team get him. Now that we saw what he did in the combine, now this could be a real situation where teams are now more adamant to say, you know what, let's take a shot at getting LeBron by getting his son. Because his son ain't bad. But to get him and LeBron with what will potentially be cap space to boot, because he'll take a lower contract in terms of LeBron, we can build a championship squad right here and now. It's not out the question at all. Could happen in Orlando. Could happen in Cleveland. It could happen in Memphis. It could happen in it could happen in LA. We could see LA get him just to be able to keep LeBron on that squad. Dare I say Golden State gets him. Dare I say Golden State gets him. Just to try to woo LeBron to get over there. Brought up Cleveland. Cleveland could get him. He was already in Cleveland. We saw him at the playoff game against the Boston Celtics. We know this man doesn't just go anywhere for a reason. Somebody brought up on Twitter that we saw him go to a Miami Heat game after Cleveland got knocked out the playoffs. And we're just visiting, going, and looking up. Next thing you know, he's a Miami Heat fan. From my understanding, he didn't go to any other game in that season. In terms of publicly known. Everything is meticulous when it comes to LeBron. Not trying to just ride the wave of LeBron. Not trying to say that LeBron is just all-encompassing genius. He is a genius at basketball, but the track record shows everything is intentional with this man. It's not a happenstance as to why he showed up here. It's not a happenstance as to why he's at a certain game. It's not a happenstance as to why he makes the moves that he makes. We know this. It's not a happenstance that we see that other teams are now going to take notice and legitimately see LeBron and Bronny as a legitimate asset to pick up by taking a chance. Not drafting a high prospect in a draft that doesn't really have a whole lot of star power to him. The biggest star is right in the league. And the biggest way to get that star is to get Bronny to sign with him. Draft him potentially in the first round. There's chaos that could be brewing. Trades that could be coming all over afoot to get this team. LeBron, whoever that team may be. Dare I say we see Sam Presti trade some picks, get a higher pick in the draft and draft Bronny James? Get LeBron to pair with Shai against Oleksandr? With a pay cut from LeBron, now you get even more potential stars that you can join and sign with them, let alone core key pieces. There's a lot of avenues that this could go. Lots of ways that this could go with LeBron and the rest of this whole draft season around his son. And we're going to be here to track it all. Because let me tell you something, it is exciting. And as the offseason comes in more and more, it's going to be one of the biggest stories that we will have to follow as time goes on. But with all that being said, this has been another episode of The Watch Report with me, Jean-Luc Watch. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the show. Again, share the show with everybody that you know. Please leave a like on the video. Comment your thoughts and opinions, because leaving likes makes this video get out to more people. Commenting gets love to interact with you and gets the algorithm to see, hey, people are communicating. People want to talk about this show. People want to talk about what we got going on. Makes it pushed even more and more. Comment your thoughts and opinions, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire together that we got going. So again, I've been Jean-Luc Watch. Y'all have been beautiful. Peace and love. we are out of here. Up until the next episode, y'all be safe, enjoy your weekends, enjoy your fights, and we'll be back next week.